As the Money Burns is an original podcast by Nikki Woodard. Based on historical research, this is a deep exploration into what happened to a set of actual heirs and heiresses to some of America's most famous fortunes when the Great Depression hits. Each episode has 3 primary sections. Section 1 is a narrative story. Section 2 goes deeper into the historical facts. Section 3 focuses on contemporary, emotional, and personal connections. Story recap. As Louise Van Alen prepares to wed Prince Alexis Mdivani, his brother divorces his silver screen queen in Paris. Many male heirs seek adventure, but one loses his life in the Arctic. Now back to As the Money Burns. The Glass Cage. Love is certainly in the air this spring as several engagements and weddings occur, though not all marital alliances are truly desirable, and some are downright scandalous. Section 1, Story. Walking about Harvard's blooms on campus, there he goes, richest boy, baby face, Huntington Hartford. A spring in his steps, he pays nary an attention to the snooty cliquishness among this overly privileged set. Nope, instead he has plans. Adventure, industry, the arts. He's going to conquer the world. Even his mother, Henrietta Hartford, can hardly faze him. They regularly dine at her place, and she even enrolls in a financial class for which they take together and study. With a hovering, overbearing mother's instinct, Henrietta grows concerned as her son seems to be different these days. While she is more than willing to accede to some of the adult freedoms she must allow, still a mother worries he might fall prey to less scrupulous females. One afternoon, Henrietta introduces her son to the pretty redhead Boston Conservatory piano student, Mildred King, who tutors in music and hosts several musical activities. Inside the Harvard dormitory Winthrop House, a simple wooden desk and wall are covered with images and news clippings of various adventures, including the recent Viking expedition and explosion. Away from his mother, Huntington has ventured onto the wrong side of the streets. His first sexual experience has led to several more. He even has a little Broadway sweetheart. Huntington's taste in females stray away from the snobbish elites preferred by his mother and the Newport set. Through music lessons and planned events, Miss King introduces him to more acceptable potential mates, girls from nearby Wesley College, the New England Conservatory of Music, and Sargent School of Gymnastics. Huntington goes on several dates, ice skating in Watertown, Harvard football games, and he even complies by taking one reputable lady from Belmont, Massachusetts, to the Hasty Puddings Club's annual midwinter show. Even with millions upon millions, Huntington remains uncomfortable, and his date is a little too enamored and well-versed with the upper crust ways. He hates all the pretense and the endless rules and manners. Then, during one Sunday afternoon tea dance, Huntington Hartford spots a polite and sweet brunette with bobbed hair, 19-year-old Mary Lee Epling. She's the daughter of a West Virginia dentist and studying in Boston to be a kindergarten teacher at nearby Lesley College. The more worldly Huntington is both intrigued by her innocence and yet hesitant, wanting to remain a gentleman. Mary Lee doesn't have the snobbery of most of the girls his mother pushes towards him. Mary Lee is unpretentious and likes to laugh. She is optimistic and the kind destined to be president of her class. With her homegrown goodness and purity, Huntington has found a new form of catnip. Spring break has finally arrived. Huntington convinces his former St. Paul's classmate and now Harvard roommate, Ned Rollins, to go on a road trip. Ned is always game for an adventure on Huntington's tab. The two crank up Hunt's 2-seater Daimler and head out of Cambridge to the Greenbrier Resort in Hot Springs, Virginia. Fast, energetic, and free, the richest boy drives the open road. His first real trip without his mother tagging along and supervising. It's the kind of journey he has longed to write about. Wind whips over the top-down slick roadster. It's one of Hunt's first vehicles, the kind he's often criticized for showing off his wealth. He's going to live by his own rules now. He's going to invent and explore and discover the world. He will build a fortune grander than the one he has inherited, and nothing is going to stop him. Saturday morning, April 18th, 1931. Barely awake, Ned fumbles around when he spots Huntington dressed and heading out the door. Huntington mumbles, I'm going to be busy. By the way, it's Huntington's 20th birthday, so Ned figures the temporarily freed Richest boy should be allowed to do whatever he pleases. What he pleases? Huntington picks up Mary Lee and they cruise around until they spot two different strangers and recruit them. Inside a small Presbyterian chapel, Huntington Hartford and Mary Lee stand in front of Reverend J. Cooser Jr. with the two strangers as their witnesses. In the evening, Huntington returns to the hotel room and announces to Ned, matter-of-factly, "I've just gotten married." Ned stares at his roommate. This is the first he ever heard of any such plans. After the marriage license is filed at the courthouse, they pack up and head back on the open road to Cambridge, and without Mary Lee. Back in Boston, Huntington and Mary Lee return to their dorms and keep their marriage a secret. Well, at least for now. Guaranteed, Henrietta is going to be hysterical when she finds out. Oh yeah. Make that a secret for a few more weeks. Huntington is a brave new man, but he still has to learn on how to deal with his suffocating mother. The perfect way to start a marriage, isn't it? Only a little crack in the glass cage. Or will the whole thing fall apart? Section 2, History and Historiography. There are so many wedding announcements in the air. Louise Van Alen and Prince Alexis Mdivani will be married this May, 1931, in Newport, Rhode Island. Their engagement, while celebrated in the press, is not so well received by her mother and brothers. In March, tennis sensation Frank Shields announces his engagement to Billy Rebecca Tinney right after his appointment on the U.S. Davis Cup team. His future brother-in-law is surely happy. Not so sure about the father-in-law who now serves as Frank's boss at the bank. Then there is Huntington Hartford. His sudden elopement will be kept a secret for a bit, first from his mother, then by his mother. For him, this decision was an act of rebellion and an assertion of independence from Henrietta's overly controlling and smothering ways. At Harvard especially, Huntington is often criticized for some of his more outlandish purchases. For old money, it is preferred that wealth be hidden by less ostentatious displays. However, Henrietta and Hartford are both the sorts that want to buy bigger and better. One year he will have a 12-cylinder Cadillac and the next a Jaguar. While other students would have to scrape and clean the family yacht or sailboat before being allowed to use it, Huntington, without any prior experience, buys the biggest and best. No allowances to save up, no hard work, no delays in gratifications. Nope. Even among the elites, Huntington is considered the epitome of a silver spoon kid. Take that Daimler two-seater. It's a sleek roadster. Now, I cannot determine by only a 3-word description which Daimler company it might hail from, the British company or the German. In 1890, Gottlieb Daimler and Wilhelm Maybach founded the Daimler Motorengesellschaft to first manufacture engines, then quickly the whole vehicle. Meanwhile, Gottlieb Daimler also licensed out the Daimler name to several other companies around the world in a short period of time, and hence, part of my confusion. After Daimler passes away in 1900, Maybach would design the first of the Mercedes series in 1902. Due to the German economic crisis following World War I, the German Daimler merges with Benz & C legally in May 1924 and completely, including all physical production, in June 1926. The joint company would be referred as Daimler-Benz AG, with the factories being called Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz will later merge with Chrysler in 1998. Parallel in Great Britain, the Daimler Company Limited is founded in 1896 by H.J. Lawson, who paid to lease the name from Gottlieb Daimler. And by 1902, this Daimler is awarded the Royal Warrant, becoming the car for British royalty until 1950s, when it is replaced by Rolls-Royce. In the 1960s, Daimler is sold to Jaguar and continues until 2010. Jaguar began as a motorcycle sidecar company in 1922. The first Jaguar car, the Sports Saloon, appears in September 1935. After more British mergers in the 1960s, Jaguar is bought by Ford in 1990 and buys Land Rover in 2000. In 2007, the Indian motor company Tata Group purchases Jaguar, Daimler, and Land Rover. By 2005, only a few Daimlers are in production. As of 2009, the trademark for Daimler in the United States is lost. Despite multiple intentions and professed interest, there are no current productions. Though there remain active accounts, they are marked as non-trading. Now, the later reference in Huntington Hartford's biography, Squandered Fortune, mentions the Daimler, a Cadillac, and a Jaguar, but the dates are not listed nor further model identification. But if you look up 1930s Daimlers, they are a thing of beauty, both German and British variations. Huntington was enough of a wannabe gearhead, he would have had the fastest and sportiest. Remember, his father, Edward Hartford, broke away from the family AP grocery store fortune and established himself as an engineer and designer on several automobile parts and patents, including the first shock absorber. Owning a Daimler definitely would be in Huntington's wheelhouse. However, owning and flaunting such a luxury at a young age is not considered acceptable to the old money of Harvard. It's a bit ironic that he is ridiculed as being silver spoon amongst the silver spoons. The phrase silver spoon first appears in English in the 1719 translation of Don Quixote. The phrase there is derived from a Spanish proverb, but with a different meaning. In 1721, the phrase reappears in a book of Scottish proverbs. Both literary phrases refer to "not every man is born with a silver spoon in his mouth." The phrase is one of many expressions around the world that have similar connotations, like born into a gold cradle in Spanish and Portuguese, and gold spoon in Swedish and Finnish. In 1840, U.S. President Martin Van Buren is criticized for his luxurious lifestyle, referenced as a gold spoon. There's another similar analogy I want to point out. The gilded cage is a reference to the section of the Turkish Ottoman Harem, which would house the young princes and sons of the sultans. Within the rigidity of the system, the sultan's wives or concubines would only be allowed to have one son to whom she would devote her life to helping him survive to adulthood and prepare for governorship and potentially sultan. Daughters might be multiple, but upon giving birth to a male, the woman was then his solely devoted mother, especially trying to protect him from this silk cord, meaning death of rivals by strangulation. However, the male potential heir was not allowed to mate. Ottoman hierarchy is not based on primogeniture, the firstborn son, common in many cultures, but on open succession, meaning the oldest and or fittest male in the family rules. Uncle, brother, cousin, nephew would succeed, unlike the more strictly paternal firstborn son of firstborn son pattern. This also meant with every new ascension, a bloodbath would occur, where the new sultan would kill all rival males, uncles, cousins, brothers. Oh, who's kidding? Brothers and more likely half-brothers, as any uncles and cousins would have been killed long before by the previous sultan. Later in the 17th century, to deter the practice of fratricide, a new policy began. Sons by the age 8 were sent to live in the harem section called the kafes, essentially the cage, a gold or gilded cage. At the Topkapı Palace in Istanbul, relative to the structure surrounding it, is a very small 2-room building with pretty lattice screens serving as de facto bars and imprisonment. Silks and luxury inside, with a window peeking into the enclave of the harem. All rest of the harem is strictly females and eunuchs. The sons would grow up confined until the sultan dies, and then only the replacement is freed to rule. Thus, it feels more poignant when Huntington is accused of living like the Shah of Persia, another Middle Eastern empire. Despite all the wealth and expensive toys in his life, he feels extremely trapped and limited. More ironically, his offended classmates should have seen the interiors of the indoor glass gymnasium at his Newport Seaverge cottage, where his mother hosted an Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard, Yale tennis party for him. The glass-enclosed gymnasium contains a large swimming pool, indoor tennis court, and an extravagantly conceived lounging room. Tiger skins spread over divans, and on the floor, before a huge fireplace. But those are not from hunting trophies like the young adventurer might have dreamed. Instead of enhancing the oriental and luxurious exotic themes, Henrietta maybe should have reconsidered the fresco painting of the infamous Egyptian Cleopatra vamping on a barge with Mark Antony. Henrietta was fiercely trying to keep those she deemed as sirens away from her precious son. Maybe the siren's call was one of freedom and liberty, as much as lures of sex and love. A cage, no matter how large or by what material, will always be suffocating in the end. Attempts at escape are inevitable. Section 3, Contemporary and Personal Relevance. It's a bit amazing that the news about Huntington Hartford's secret elopement will take a while to come out, and it's going to be sensational. Seriously, big news when it finally breaks, and why it breaks. The heirs and heiresses of our stories are the first real worldwide media tabloid fodder of their day. With the Great Depression, there becomes an even more hyper focus on what they are doing, and oh Lord, if anything scandalous comes out. This is still a highly reactionary society, though not to the level of today's cancel culture variety. But it makes one wonder about our current environment. As the big news media struggles with ratings and competition from independent sources, there's a large plethora of news inundating us from all angles. And truly, any little thing from the past plays forever on the internet. Right now, we have several topics du jour, from the more serious Russia invading the Ukraine, society en masse with quarantines and vaccination mask mandate debates still raging, issues in educational content, gender and sexuality, and so on and so on. And then there are celebrities, with an ever-growing ultra-dissection of a single event or ongoing interactions. We didn't get much celebrity news during quarantine, as most kept a lower profile for a multitude of reasons. But now there's the slap heard around the world, and the endless trove of material brought out for all to consume daily and even hourly. Of course, I'm referring to Will Smith slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars, which has led to more speculation between Will Smith and his wife Jada Pinkett Smith's marital rumors. What should have been a crowning moment for Will Smith is now mired in controversy, posturing, and most utter humiliation. This fishbowl, funhouse mirror type of existence that surrounds anyone heavily in the public eye, life is hard enough when you're dealing with tough and dark moments, but when it is for all the world to see and comment, and now people really can comment from everywhere through the public forums on social media. We will see how long it takes for the Huntington Hartford's marriage to come out and the accompanying mistruth rumors and half-truths, but before then, there are several more marriages and even divorces to add to our tale. Today in 2022 marks the 110th anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic on April 14th and 15th, 1912. Come re-explore that fatal event and its aftermath for one of our families in Episode 10, The Iceberg Cometh. Curious to learn more about historical empires like the Ottomans? Well, fortunately, there's always a podcast to locate. Empire's podcast, The Ottomans by Frank Schumpert, goes into deep dives of various sultans into a dynasty that lasted for 7 centuries until crumbling after World War I. An upcoming future episode will discuss the real historical Dracula's relation to one sultan. That is the Empire's podcast, The Ottomans, located at a podcast directory near you. Next, when we return to As the Money Burns, though wealth provides some protections, the seeds of despair can grow anywhere. Another life is lost during a game of chance. Until then. As the Money Burns is an original podcast written, produced, and voiced by Nikki Woodard based on historical research. Archival music has been provided by Past Perfect Vintage Music. Check out their website at www.pastperfect.com. Please come visit us at As the Money Burns via GoodPods, Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Transcripts, timeline, episode guide, and character bios are available at asthemoneyburns.com.